Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to the MindShare PodCast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 49. So right now I'm sitting in a room, and I've got, we're overlooking the Bay of San Francisco. We've got the beautiful city of San Francisco behind us. I actually got three amazing guests here. Now, we all hail from Canada, so this is pretty cool because we're sitting in San Fran, coming out of, different parts of Canada, I guess you could call it for right now. But I've got Danny Wood, Andrew Fogliato, Sebastian Malinowski, and we are recording a MindShare podcast. So not that I would say that most people don't know who you guys are, because I think that most people in our industry do know who everybody here is. But why don't we start off, Danny? Introduce yourself, tell people sort of what you're up to. I know you're doing your coaching program. And
Sure, yeah, I don't have the podcast voice like you do, the radio voice, so that part sucks. Brokerage Nation, that's what I run, Canada and the States, coast to coast, both countries. There's about 200 offices in the program and almost 5,000 agents in the program. Every other week I do a live show coaching agents on marketing and technology. And primarily I'm positioned as a real estate coach, but that's because that's the mind share I'm building with the agents. But really I'm going after broker owner managers on recruiting, and that's where the bulk of my income comes from, but people don't know that.
Cool. Andrew.
I'm Andrew Fogliato. I run a digital marketing agency called Just Sell Homes, and we just specialize in the real estate industry. So we work with agents, brokers, brands, coaches, vendors, basically handling the marketing for people inside the industry, targeting consumers and agents alike. So it's pretty fun. I enjoy it. And I'm in San Francisco to talk about growing your brand online.
Cool. Yeah. No, and that's exciting. We're all here for NAR. Sebastian.
Well, see, here's the thing. We are in San Francisco, in your hotel room, overlooking a beautiful city. I don't know if I can continue this conversation. I'm being too mesmerized that I forget what my name is.
Look at the house on the hill. Look at that
I know,
neighborhood.
right?
That's so sick.
Like, forget what I do. Look at the view here.
It's amazing because typically speaking, when I come here to San Francisco, I cannot see anything. The clouds are dropped over all the buildings. You can never see the bridge. I have yet to see the bridge, like in probably 4 trips. Still haven't gotten to Alcatraz, which, Dan, we want to try.
I ran
to
the
get to
bridge,
Alcatraz.
and it took forever.
Really?
Yeah.
It's traffic?
No, just the length of it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on the other side.
Really? There's nothing over
Didn't
there?
know that. I couldn't even. There wasn't even a vending machine. Yeah.
Go figure. So for everybody listening, the bridge is not worth it. Just take a picture.
Just rich houses.
Is that really
that's
it,
what's
eh?
on the other side.
Cool.
All right, so here's what I will say. What I
golden
do, now that I've gathered my mind up a little bit. So I've been selling homes for the past 16 years, and I just recently decided to transition into helping agents. It kind of happened by accident because it got to the point where agents were just asking me, how are you attracting business? I took the traditional real estate coaching, and it was, the old cold calling, door knocking, and all that. And sure, I guess that could be fine for agents, but I find that approach repels, not attracts. So I've developed my own system through trial and error on how to attract good quality leads that want to work with you, where you don't have to worry about your competition. So it's attracting business versus chasing. And a lot of coaches say follow up, but it's just a disguise chasing them. So I teach agents how to attract business through social media, primarily through video, so they can attract and grow their business by developing their own tribe. And that's why what I do is called Tribe Agent.
Yep. And so you just mentioned not going out and doing follow-up, and I don't think it was probably not don't do follow-up.
No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah. No, I probably...
Here's the thing. When you talk to a lot of people, they say, like coaching, old school coaches, they will use the term follow-up. But if you actually pay attention to what's happening, they should be saying chase them. Because follow-up should be, the way I envision follow-up, when you call somebody, they know it's you, they will pick up the phone because you're friends, there's a connection. So follow-up just means, when can we get together? The way I've been taught is you keep follow up until you get them, then you use any objection handling script you can to set up the appointment. Does that sound like follow-up or does that sound like chasing?
Okay, but here, and I'd ask everybody
Right?
here, right? Like when you talk about all the tech that we've got out there, and really the way the business has changed, where now it's not that people are maybe chasing or following up, but there's a lot of that tech that we're taking advantage of to try to drive the leads.
Right.
And I know you're a magician with this stuff, Andrew. But just on the overall, again, and I've said very publicly, I don't like the term leads. I don't like the way we have turned this business because of the tech into the whole thing, the reference of we're getting a lead. I still believe this is a people business.
Absolutely.
And you've got to be communicating with people, right? And
For sure.
That's where I would come from in terms of that of it's not so much a chase and it's not so much even a follow-up. If you're doing the things you're supposed to do,
You shouldn't have
you're
to
really
chase.
not. But it's not even dealing with people that may necessarily be wanting to buy and sell real estate right now.
That's right,
it's
yeah.
just literally connecting with the people that are within your circle,
Yep.
your contact list, trying to build what I reference as MindShare with these people on a regular
Right.
basis. And if you do that consistently enough, I believe business begins to come.
Correct.
Right?
I 100% agree with you, and that's my philosophy at least. You create those relationships that, and I don't like the term leads as well, because lead is nothing than a number in your database. It should be
Right.
relationships. You
Right.
should have a database of relationships. That's why my terms, I call it a tribe, and we all know the term tribe. People that know, like, and trust you. They don't have to be clients, but they're part of your inner circle that will still refer business to you, and you're creating those relationships online through social media. You're exponentially growing it, one to many as opposed to one to one on the phone.
Okay, so here, I got to turn this over to you when we talk about, and I mean, I've said this to you many times, and especially when we're in a room together and I'm getting on stage, and you know where I come from of like, you've got to go and do the organic stuff in order to take advantage of all the stuff you're doing. They can take advantage of it, but you and I both know the ones that are going to really leverage it are the
Now you're
ones that
talking
are
about Andrew's system
involved. It's not even system, more or less. It's more just coming from that angle of going, you know, you're saying go on social media and build. What do we need to be doing, and then how do we
Right.
leverage that to bring in more business?
Two different parts, relationships, then conversion. Is that what you're referring to?
There's relationships to conversion. There's the chase. There's you know the different ways you're bringing in the biz. But I think that if you're going to leverage social, you've got to be social,
Right.
and that could mean across social media. That could mean across calling people and going to see people, right? But then you can bring in that whole idea of how do you get new people into your pipeline, and that's where your reference, I think, to leads came from,
I gotcha.
right? Like
I see what you mean.
would I be right there? Like you've got to be social with people before you can go and really try to.
Yes and no. Like definitely the most effective route online is basically what he's talking about. Is that you create great content, you attract the people you want, but like we have clients who never want to go online. They hate social media.
Right.
They kill it on social media though because they're really good at following up with leads.
Right.
But these are people who also grew their business in the 90s with cold calling. Like that's what works for them. So like for every personality type and like type that you've built your business, there's a way online to make it work for you. The downside of that like basically lead generation model of just like money in, money out, or money in, leads out, is the second you stop paying, you stop getting leads.
Right.
Whereas if you're creating great content, building those relationships at that level, that can keep going for a while after you stop selling or stop paying money towards ads. Like you have that reputation now, then keep doing it. Whereas like the clients who hate social media, the second they stop putting money in every month into paid ads, they're going to stop getting leads on the spot.
So if they're putting money, okay, you're right. So they're putting money into it. They can bank it, and I believe they got a budget for it, right? Because there's a lot of people that go out there and they just spend a whole bunch of money doing stuff without any rhyme or reason. I mean, we laughed about that today in both my podcast session as well as the video session around if you're not consistent enough. And I kind of mocked almost consistency, but I was trying to drive home a point there around you got to be consistent with anything you're doing. So if they're consistently spending money to bring in these what we call leads today, right? They've now got to have a follow-up system.
Yeah.
What are they doing? What kind of things do they need to do to convert these people?
If you're doing the method of like essentially cold calling of, listen, I'm not going to be on social, I'm not going to build that relationship at that point, and I'm just going to throw money at it and get as many, like force capture them and get as many as I can, you basically have to be aggressive in your follow-up. Like it's basically cold calling. So like there's different ways to go about it, but like you've got to have like calls and texts going out.
Is there a specific number of times that you recommend? I mean, and let me preface that and just say, not to paint you in a corner there, is to say there are people that are coming and go, well, if you got to do 7 times, you got to do 10 times or 3 times. Or what. And I'm going, nah, like even when I'm talking to my team at the office, it's, listen, you got to get a smell test off of everybody you're talking to and understand where's that person. And maybe they said they're going away on vacation for a week or 2 weeks, and they say, call me in 4. Call them in 3.
I have a simple rule. Regardless of the drip plan that they're on, the one rule that matters the most is the next call date. And that's not automated. That's based on you, your internal guidance system, the conversation you're having, where they are at that season in life, because this summer is going to be different than next spring for them, maybe. And so when I add a person to a database, I will always set a next call. So nobody's in my database without a next call. Because if they are, they're not going to get called.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. And then rule number two is if I set that next call date, in my notes, I have a mental reason of why. So I memory trigger in 6 months. Oh yeah, you went away, you weren't thinking, you had foreclosure, like whatever the case may be. Memory trigger. And then so some people will be like, oh, I'll call them in 12 months. Oh, I'll call them in 2 weeks. Like everybody had a different call plan, but it was not automated. Because I tried this whole automated thing when we were getting an abundance of leads. And everybody was on the wrong plan at all times. It was just constantly an evolving little hunk of crap. Nobody likes their database for good reason, and that's because it's always a hot mess. Either you don't know who the people are, or the people are on the wrong plans. And
which I find incredible because, like, we've got Loop CRM, right? We've got the whole CRM we've built, and in that, it's taken us years to build in action plans and drip campaigns. And it's taken us years because I never believed, and this goes back to the conversation we were having earlier off air when it was just the two of us after my session, and we were talking about, what the plans are and how we're doing follow-up. And it was basically this idea around, with drip campaigns and action plans, to me, exactly what you just said, you can't actually figure out, when am I supposed to call you? When am I supposed to call you? When am I supposed to call you?
It's like a gut feeling.
It's got to be gut feeling, right? And so that's where I've had a big pushback against it. However, we built them in because our market wants them. I can't stand them. I was in the same boat. We started setting people up on them, and now you go, which one was he on? Which one's he on? And then I'm following up at the wrong times, and I think that our industry and the people within it, as much as they want to take advantage of the technology and automate, they're doing a disservice to themselves around the relationship build with people, right? It's like you've got an action plan. You put somebody here when it comes to the follow-up. I call it predictable days with income-producing activities. So you will make the call to somebody. You will go into the database and write your note. You will remember what you said to that individual and immediately schedule them ahead. And it could be a week, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 4 months, 12 months, whatever it is. In my world, you're still going to be on some of my marketing. I'm going to connect with you on social media. I am going to make sure that you are...
supporting efforts is what we're talking about.
Well, that's exactly it. It's cross-channel, right?
Yeah.
Direct mail, email, social, all that stuff that we're using. And now I know between those calls, you are not going to forget about me, right? We've spoken in the past about sort of the online stuff and like the retargeting and remarketing, and I know that that's a piece of the things that you teach on.
Yep.
Right? But is that the type of stuff that is generating leads for people? Like when we talk here, and maybe the term I'm going to use there is even the, online advertising, right? Like Google stuff and running ads, whether it be through Facebook, whether it be through Google. Are we seeing that we've hit our bell curve on that, where it's starting to realize like, okay, there's only so much you're going to get, or there's an exact process you got to follow, and if there is, what is that process in order to convert?
Yeah, paid leads definitely work, and I mean the costs have gone up, right? So there's that factor. It was a lot cheaper back in the day. The different types of marketing have different reasons. Like the remarketing is very much a branding play, and if somebody wants to track that based on leads generated, in 3 months they're going to be disappointed and unhappy. So before a person can even enroll in that program, I make them say out loud, I don't want leads from this, Danny, and in 3 months I will not be calling you unhappy because what I want is branding from this. Because the remarketing is totally a branding play.
Right.
It's one of the worst spaces for you to generate leads.
Okay, interesting.
But some people really have a database and repeat and referral. So if they were to step into the online world, I would say go that direction as opposed to going straight up pay-per-click and Facebook ads, because that's not their strength and strong suit. They just feel like they need to be on Facebook and feel like they need to be on Google. But there's other people on the flip side that don't have repeat referral database. They don't have any system, so they do have to have a pillar of some kind. And internet leads like Andrew's Facebook stuff, my Google stuff, definitely a time and place. But as a broad answer, I'd say you kind of got to play with what fits your style.
Yeah, but okay, so how do they figure out their style? These are people that have come out of this business, and there's a bunch of folks that have been in this business a long time that didn't leverage Facebook. They didn't leverage the Google leads. They didn't do all that stuff. And now we're sitting there going, look, you can generate a ton of business from this thing. I would say that I'm not going to tell people that you don't have to do a lot of work for it, because you certainly got to do the follow-up to make it happen, right? But now you've got stuff coming in the pipeline.
So I do a free coaching call with people, and when we do that call, it's always them coming to me because they want the shiny object. And at the end of the day, 80% of the time, I'm like, it's not what you need. I actually don't sell my stuff on them. I tell them, generally speaking, my broad answer is like, what database are you using, and how many times are you contacting these people, and are you doing client appreciation events, and like, are you working that side of it? And most of them feel awkward even just picking up the phone and calling their own database, so that's why they want the internet leads.
Right.
But they really don't want the internet leads because they don't want to call them either.
Right. So, okay, there's the big
Yeah.
problem we've got with our industry, right?
Yeah. So I have an easy answer. My easy answer for these people is create a monthly event that has nothing to do with real estate, that is all about you and your personality and what you want to do. You want to, in the spring, do a running clinic to like learn how to run, or golf range and get driving lessons, like golf lessons. Do a Segway tour. It doesn't matter. Every month, pick a new event. And then use that as your reason for why you're connecting and reconnecting and calling your database. You don't have to pay for all these people, and you don't need big numbers. You get 6 people out, you get 12 people out, it doesn't matter. But I always have a plan B for when I'm on the phone with a person. I can enroll them in something different that isn't like, hey, I've got a referral for me, or hey, I'm still hounding you to do business.
Or I'm never too busy.
Yeah, well, anything, as long as a person's consistent with even that, it works.
Yeah,
but
consistency.
They have a challenge picking up the phone and calling, just saying I'm never too busy. When really, if you just picked a monthly event and use that as your cornerstone. There's a girl today, she did a mastermind group in her local community because she went to a new community, and her idea was to contact the people that, lawyers, like divorce lawyers, that sort of thing, and then anything to do with newborns, weddings, jewelry, and she got a networking group of 12 people in 12 different industries that are all closely related to people that are moving, and they have to give 12 referrals a year to be a part of the group. They each paid in $250 just to cover the cost of food, and they meet up once a month, and they have their own little group, and she got like $7 million in business last year from that group.
Just by making calls, setting up some ideas, and having that networking group amongst other people that are sort of servicing.
I don't like those ones where they force you to give referrals.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I
hate that model.
Yeah, I don't. That part I wasn't down with. But I mean, just the fact that she set up her own networking group, and now she has something monthly that she can enroll other people in to get to. Like before I got.
And just to clarify, this is an idea for a realtor.
Yeah.
Mortgage broker, loan officer, anybody listening.
Anybody,
I guess, yeah. And I noticed you do a great job of it, because I see that come out. Hey guys, I'm going to be in, Suntown.
Yeah.
Do you want to go do Segway tours? Does anybody want to do, like, I don't know, hot yoga? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like,
aerial yoga.
No, but there are stuff that I watch you do, and I'm kind of like,
He's onto something.
No, that's the thing. And I'm watching it, and then I don't know how many people come out, and maybe it's one person sometimes, maybe it's 50 people sometimes, I don't know. But I think it's bright because you connect with people on a total outside the business level.
You're not shoving real estate down their face.
No, you're just getting together with people, right?
It makes the follow-up a lot easier with awkward conversations. Some people in your database are 6 months, 8 months, 2 years, 3 years, and you're like, I can't call these people.
Right.
Yeah,
but
that's embarrassing sometimes.
You have something that worthwhile, and it's like, pick whatever gets your spark going. Could be a make and take where people show up and make things seasonally. It's Halloween and they do like some sort of DIY, and then everybody goes off. I mean, You did one. My wife was like, "Oh, I've got to join them." Dude, there was one like last year or something like that.
What was that about?
I don't know. I remember.
I did it. Yeah, I had. There was.
Did my wife end up coming to it? I don't even know.
80 people showed up.
Wow.
3 of them flew from other cities.
What?
Yeah, and it was just
What was the theme? What were you guys doing?
It was like a makeup thing or something,
Yeah.
wasn't
It had nothing to do. I invited some other girl to come in and run it because I didn't know. They made a bath salt, a headache roller, and a Febreze.
Okay, that's cool.
Organic Febreze for like stinky listings. And I said it was going to be a women in real estate networking event. And yeah, 80 people showed up, and they each paid $40 or whatever it was for the ticket. And I wasn't looking to make money. I just wanted to cover the cost of everything. And
have people network with each other.
Yeah.
And you network as well.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right.
Because for those that hate picking up the phone, me being one of them, I'm just naturally an introvert. I feel really awkward doing that whole follow-up because, the big question is, and I know agents have this question, well, what do I say? So there are systems out there, well, you just ask them for this, for that. Underneath it, they can smell you just looking for your referrals. But when Danny mentioned you put on an event, it doesn't matter what personality you are, because if people are interested in the makeup, they're going to come out. They will connect with you, and there's a higher chance of you becoming closer friends with them.
Well, there it comes back to, right? And this comes back to social media posts and why we,
Yeah.
and I've got on the screens, when Joshua carried his first hockey bag or when Leah went to her first Raptors game. Why do we post these things? We post these things because this way people are actually going to connect with us as human beings, not as businesses, not as salespeople.
If I see somebody add me on Instagram and it is 100% photos of real estate, bark from my mouth. No offense if that's you listening. It's just
No, total offense. Don't do it.
I don't want. I'm not in. I'm not interested.
I don't want to follow.
You throw up in your mouth
Especially
just
if
a
I
little
then
bit.
get an immediate message being like, "Hey, follow my page and like my."
Yeah, your friends all of a sudden
yeah.
follow my page, and it's like,
Yeah.
stop.
I'll
right?
follow you if you
Or
follow
people,
me.
agents or managers who recruit me to their brokerage because I have my license. I don't sell.
Yeah.
And they're trying to like, hey, how's your business going? I think I could help double it if
Yeah.
you join my
Oh,
office.
yeah.
Be like, are you sure? Because doubling it would be awfully tough.
Yeah, right. But so, what kind of ideas? I mean, I had a buddy of mine, Jazz Takar. I don't know if anybody you know Jazz. Runs the REC Experience. He was on the podcast not too long ago. He's part of the industry syndicate, and he was on. And he brought up a good one. He said, when you call people, because a lot of people have problems picking up the phone and calling. And I mean, I always make the joke. I'm like, listen, it's not that hard. Here's what to say. Okay, ready? Write it down. So people are like, they're all ready to take notes. They pull out the pen. You're like, okay, ready? Say this. They're like, okay, what? I'm like, hi. How are you? And people are like, that's it? Yeah. What else are you going to say to somebody? Now, if you take your notes diligently, it's, I called you back in 3 weeks. So how was Jamaica?
That's
Which
right.
hotel did you stay
Exactly.
at? Did you like it? So Jazz brought up, he says, pick up the phone and call people. Have a reason why you're doing it, but pick up the phone and call people and ask them how you can help them. So, pick something about their house, pick something about their life, pick anything that you know about the individual and find out if there's something that you can do to add some value. Help them. And he says, you're going to get people that are going to go, no, I'm good, thank you, and hang up. And then you go, the next person, no, I'm good, thank you. And then maybe you call them back in 3 weeks, 3 months, a year, hey, can I help you with this? No, I'm good. At some point, these people are like, you know what? You were always wanting to help.
Yeah.
They might need something. Now they pick up and go, hey, you know what? I got a question for you.
See, the thing with helping is what most people say is, can I help you, or how can I help?
No,
People don't want to be.
specific.
That's right. You have to learn the person. You got to stalk their social media. You have to see where you can inject your value because of a problem they had. If somebody takes a picture of themselves on the street with a flat tire and they have nothing to change the tire with, then you can reach out and say, hey, listen, I got this extra thing that will help you change your tire next time. I just want to deliver it to you. Then you're being proactive and actually helping them, as opposed to picking up the phone and saying, hey, if you need anything, I'm here. I'm always here to help. I'm totally guilty of doing that, by the way. So I'm not here trying to rag on those that do it, because I genuinely do want to help, but I sometimes have to catch myself, because it's easy to say, can I help? But it's more difficult to actually research what that person specifically wants and solving that specific problem. Now you're helping. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
If a business person has a problem, let's call it generating leads, non-real estate related, pick a mom and pop shop, any of them, and you see on their social media they're having conversation with, they're having an issue generating leads. Okay, we'll take that issue and give them the extra problem. Now you're helping. You're not saying, can I help? You're saying, by the way, I'm picking up the phone. Here's the solution.
Yeah.
I don't want anything back from you. Here's the solution.
So when you look at that, then we say it's interesting because knowing, sort of the expertise you all bring to the table when it comes to getting out there and generating business from people that are complete frickin' strangers, it's amazing how the funnel comes right back to there's got to be a database, right?
I think
You've
everything's
gotta
a
have
funnel.
database.
Everything's a funnel, but I think people take the word funnel as something bad and negative. Everything in life is a funnel. Every company has a funnel. They don't call it a funnel, but it's a way of bringing you closer to doing business with them.
Right, but when
That's
we
all a funnel
we
is.
look at realtors, I think there's a misconception around what the funnel is. Okay,
They think instant business, I think.
There's a thought of instant business. There's a thought of if I just sign up for X, whatever it be, the business is just going to roll in.
Yeah.
And no matter who I speak to, and you guys all know exactly what you're up to, right? Like you're pros at what you do. You've seen it. You've watched realtors succeed. You've watched them fail with it. everything comes back to pick up that phone and get together with people. Pick up the phone and call people. Go get together with people. Stay in touch with people. Follow up with people. And as you do more of that, that's where your business starts to come from. So now you got folks that say, well, I haven't got a big enough database. And I think to myself, well, like, and I used this example the other day. I walk into my hairdresser, and he's a buddy of mine. He's been a friend of mine for many, many, many years. He's a pro, and I would say to everybody, go get your haircut from this guy. But if I'll walk in there, if a realtor walks in, he makes sure to make an introduction, right? And now there's a connection point. So it's how many people do you have, or have you thought about and exhausted all the people you know, and put those people in your database? That's where your business comes from, right? Now, we had a conversation earlier, and I'll leave the company we were talking about out of this because I'm not looking to slander or knock them.
Yep.
But when we talk about websites and having a site, and then we talk about marketing budgets, how much money you should be spending towards stuff, right? You know, there's an idea there, where are you putting your dollars, right? So we talked about this one website where it's like they're driving people, they're trying to get you to spend money on their system so that people...
put the agents onto their own websites.
Right, and then people, they're assuming that because there's a geographic sort of exclusivity, that anybody in that neighborhood is just going to land on this website and then connect back with you.
Right, I mean, they're selling the dream, of course.
But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why don't you just spend the money on your own website and generate the business from your site and do some ads, do some social ads, right? Like,
if you know what you're doing, that makes much better sense, obviously. If you know how to take that X amount of dollars, instead of paying someone to be part of their website, and then in addition to that, you have to pay advertising money, I'd rather just cut out that middleman and do it yourself.
You sell real estate, right?
What's that?
You sell real estate.
Yeah.
You're a licensed
16
realtor.
years.
Right.
Yes, I do have my license, yeah.
You've done it. You don't do it anymore. Just so Homes is like mainstay. It's killing it.
Yeah.
And then, have you sold real estate, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
And do you still sell real estate?
I hung it.
Okay, cool. May I ask why? So you guys were all realtors.
Yeah.
And you guys all decided to get out of the business and get into what you're doing, which is still within the business. And I know you guys are all doing amazing with it. Why did we get out? What was it that might have been the challenge, or what opportunity did you see? And why the shift? And why I asked
That's
that
a great
question.
question.
Why I ask it as well is the fact that we have all seen a lot of realtors come into the biz and they go.
Yeah.
They're not specific enough. They are not rigid enough. They're not determined enough. They haven't budgeted properly. They're not doing the things they're supposed to be doing.
Some of them even become coaches and trainers.
Well, this is the thing, though, is that people start to either diversify themselves or get out of the business because of.
Yeah.
Just curious, why did you guys decide it was time to maybe move into a different line of work? What opportunity did you see?
I'll start. I still think I'm doing the same thing. So when I got into real estate, I didn't look at it like the self-employed sales representative. I looked at it like marketing. I was wearing a marketing hat, and I'm still marketing. It's just I'm not.
That's why I love you, bro. What an answer! I love it. I haven't switched gears. I'm still doing the same thing.
I'm still in the same.
But
track.
it's true.
It's not his first time answering that.
No, but it's seriously, it's a brilliant answer. Yeah. Because most of the people in the industry aren't thinking about that. He is.
Yeah.
But the real
we stop right there.
The real black and white of why I hung my license is because I was invited to speak on stage at a company's conference, and then the CEO Google searched me, and I was with a competing company, and he went red in the face, didn't want to say my name on stage. They made me do my talk and walk out the back door without even saying my name or anything. And he's like, "Can I call you something else?" And I'm like, "Danny?" Like, Dan or Danny. I got two you can go by. And it was so awkward. But they reached out to me and they hired me. It was nothing on, like, I wasn't hiding anything. They knew where I was coming from.
Right.
But the owner didn't. And he's not the one who called. So whoever was under him got in a lot of crap that day, probably.
Now, what was it that they, okay, this is cool.
They didn't want
You're selling real estate. What were you doing while you were selling real estate that they asked you to come and speak at the conference?
So for the first 2 years, I probably did 300 talks for free. I didn't charge the company, the conference, the agents. I never had an upsell or a program. I was purely doing it for referrals. And every time you talk in front of an audience, there's always one or two people that are like, "Hey, I got something you could speak at." So it snowballs. So that's how that happened.
Interesting. And that's where the change of gears went.
Well, once I knew I was getting on big stages at that point, I'm like, I gotta get all in or out. So I jumped both feet in.
It's interesting because you just said it. You said some people become coaches and speakers.
Yeah.
And naturally,
it's true. They start failing at real
naturally,
estate.
well, okay. Just before
Some
you
do.
use the word fail, I was
Well,
going to say,
no.
naturally, we all decided to sort of go.
We all
that
sucked
route.
at sales, so here we are.
Listen, I'll be the first to admit my real estate business was a freaking roller coaster. Super high highs and super low lows I don't even want to mention.
I think everybody listening just said yes to that. Like, they're in the same
And
boat,
I'm not
right?
going to hide it. But I didn't transition because of the super low lows. It really has nothing to do with it.
Which it shouldn't.
It shouldn't. My wife actually asked me about a month ago, what's your big why? And I focus everything on the big why. And I turned to her, I said, I would love, and I mentioned Danny's name.
You bought me that book in Toronto.
I did.
At the
Your big why or choose your why?
Yeah.
I actually got it from Simon himself at Inman a couple of years ago. It was
Sure,
like-
you just have to one-up us.
No, I'm just saying.
This isn't a sword
Simon who?
fight here.
Simon says. Simon says.
So I even brought up Danny's name to my wife, and I said, you know what?
nice.
I want a life.
That's what she called you the other day.
No, shut up. I said, I want to be able to pick up my laptop and work from anywhere. It's the next chapter in my life.
That's not Danny. He doesn't even use a laptop.
Well, exactly. Nowadays, it's more.
No,
of a phone,
Danny
right?
doesn't work from anywhere. Danny works from everywhere.
But it doesn't answer the question, why did I leave real estate? And I look at life as different chapters. Just because I did real estate in one part of my life doesn't mean I have to continue with it. And no, I didn't leave because it had anything to do with success level. I told my parents I was going to be a real estate agent at the age of 9. I knew I was going to sell real estate. It's been in my blood since I was a child. So finally got my real estate license, super high highs, lows, like I said. And then in 2010, I transitioned where I stopped the cold prospecting and I started attracting leads through video. Was my very first thing that I did. Failed at it miserably for the first 2 months. But then eventually I started picking up traction and I started building my business. And from that point on, agents, broker owners, companies started reaching out to me saying, dude, I like what you're doing. You're growing your business in ways that is completely brand new in this industry. Back in 2010, that's kind of the beginning years of this whole social media thing. And I was just a little bit ahead of the curve. And I was growing my business, doing new things. I mean, I can count on one hand how many other agents were actually doing video at that time. And so all of a sudden, another spark came. I was like, I kind of like going and teaching agents. I'm finding this to be a lot of fun. So initially, it was just a very small percentage of my business. And I did what Danny did. I just gave all the information away for free. You want me to talk here? I'll talk here. You want me to train here? I'll train here. And I was more than happy to do it. At some point in time, about 3 years ago, there was this tipping point where all of a sudden, I turned to my wife and I said, I think I want to be doing this. I am having so much fun that my brain doesn't know what to do. But I can't do two things at once. I'm a very simple guy. So I kind of tried for 3 years and I decided, you know what? I'm going to go where my heart tells me to go. It's a new chapter in my life. I'm just going to do it. I burnt the bridge. I burnt my boats, landed on the coaching or training speaking island, whatever you want to call it.
I didn't even know. I just found that out now.
Oh, really? Well,
I thought you were still half and half. That's cool.
Well, no, this year, I still serviced clients. I'm
Right.
still licensed. And so when people call me from my database, they reach out to me. I'm not proactively marketing in real estate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to get business, but the business is still trickling in as a side effect of the relationships that I built. So eventually, I mean, if the phone calls continue, I will 100% have to shut it down eventually. But right now I'm juggling, but 100% of my focus now is on Tribe Agent, showing agents what I did. And I'm just having so much fun. And it goes back to, I want to be able to work from anywhere, be in any part of the world, because I can still communicate.
It's funny, that's a lot of what I've said to my team as well. Is, I mean, we've got kits and it's a beast. Like there's machinery, there's people, there's technology, there's all sorts of stuff, and that cannot happen from just anywhere. But for what I do for a living,
Well, you got.
Well, you can be anywhere.
that's the thing. And so when
Your
you talk
team
about
can.
being anywhere, that's
We're in
and
San Francisco for crying
right,
out
and
loud.
we're ripping a podcast. We're doing a MindShare PodCast right here. Like all I
Right.
need is a laptop. I need basically to be able to speak
Yeah.
and have a microphone.
As long as you bring your voice, with you,
Right?
you're good.
That's in my mind. That's where the fun of what we're
You don't
doing
even need
is.
a hand.
So yeah, well, thanks, Andrew. No, but even for you though, you were doing the real estate thing. You transitioned. And
Yeah,
I mean,
what was it for you?
I think the whole world knows how much respect I got for you. Like, I'm always touting it. This guy's like at the back of the room, like, you got to see Andrew. But it's sincerely, the amount of stuff I've learned from you on that stuff and how giving you are on it, talk about value add and everything else. Where was the transition? Why?
It took me a while to figure out what worked for me. Like, I wasted a ton of money, and so I sold for 2 years. When I really started to figure it out, and then I just, at one point, it was about a year and a half in, I had 6 clients, or potential clients, who were all going to buy or sell in the next year or so. All were going to use me. Like, I'd already committed, minus, like, actually signing the paperwork. We're like, yeah, okay, you're our guy. And we started doing that route. And then just, like, within a 4-week period, all 6 of them, which would have been about $180,000 in commission, all said, we think we need to wait a couple of years.
Ouch.
And I was like, well, that sucks.
There goes my mortgage payment.
Yeah. And long story short, right, like within the exact same period, one of the big brands offered me a job training their agents. So then in my head, I'm like, I thought to myself, like, okay, I could keep like scratching it until I kind of get that back up again and get those leads coming back in, because like the leads are generated normally pretty far out online. Or I could go take this salaried position for like 2 years. Because basically, so my initial idea was I'll do it for 2 years. And every stage I go on, I'm going to mention the town Aurora, because that's where I worked. And I'm going to build the single greatest referral network that anyone has ever done. It's like every stage I went on, I said Aurora a minimum of 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what the topic was, I would say Aurora. I like mentioned.
How old are you? Aurora.
Yeah, every time. Like, what would your stripper name be? Aurora. It doesn't matter. I'm saying Aurora so that they remember it's me.
He's still doing it in this podcast.
Yeah.
How many times we just
That's like a drinking game.
And it works.
Aurora,
It
drink.
works. Because now if we have a referral for Aurora, I'm the guy.
There are literally times I've been like, yeah, for it's there, Aurora, like yell to Edge at the back of the room.
And then so I was like going around doing that, and then I'm also getting to meet with top producers all the time and learn from them. So I'm like, all right, they're basically going to pay me to go to university and get like a PhD in real estate. But then every time I trained, everyone was just like, okay, can you just do this all for me? And then eventually you're like, there's a way better business here that I actually enjoy more. And
And,
like,
and this was in terms of the ads and stuff, or like the speaking,
just
or just in
online
general,
marketing,
right? Okay.
helping. I also fell in love with speaking, even though I used to be that guy who would take a 0 in school if I had to present. Like literally, I'd sit back in the class, I'd be like, "Your turn," be like, "I'll take the 0."
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just eventually, I remember my mentor from when I sold came to me. He's like, "Andrew, can you evaluate some website providers for us?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, man. Like, you're my mentor. Like, I'll look at all the websites you want." And at the end of it, I gave him like the breakdown of everything he was looking for and which provider would work best for him. And then I'm like, and here's the strategy you should use to make it work. And he goes, damn it, I just want to sell homes. Can you just do this for me?
Oh,
And
that's
I was
good.
like,
Just
huh.
Ah, that story I never heard.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, give me $1,000 a month. I'll do it today. And he
How'd
goes,
you come up with 1,000? Just
He literally just
"Pull it
threw it
out
out
of my
there.
ass." I had no idea. I was just like, it was way too low for. I literally was his entire online everything
So
for
you worked
$1,000 a month.
full-time hours.
Like literally, I
for $1,000 a
blogged
month.
every week, ran his ads, did his email, like everything. $1,000 a month, way too
Right.
little. Like now, I'd charge like $4,000 for what I was doing for him at minimum, plus ad spend.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, this was this huge thing, and I kept doing it all, but I loved it. And eventually, I was just like, all right, this is actually what I want to keep doing instead of going back to sales. So, like I liked sales. I loved like the marketing side of being a real estate agent. Once you actually got into like servicing clients and like
Boring,
all the
right?
drama, like yeah, I didn't mind it. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed some of the clients I had, and like I love those moments where like you can like surprise and delight someone and make them like even like a little thing. Like, we had a client when I was selling one time. I referred him a home inspector, and they after the home inspection they get the respective report and it's digital, and he just goes, "Oh, if I had known that it wasn't a paper report, I wouldn't have hired him."
Wow.
Like the guy was just like, I like paper. So I drove to Staples, printed the report, put it in a binder, and then 10 minutes later showed up at his house with the report in the binder. And like the smile on their face of like, holy crap, like I can't believe what you just did. Like that's amazing. And like
Yeah.
that little gesture of like, I love that type of thing.
Right.
But there's so much other BS around it all that I just got tired of it. And came back.
If anybody's listening to this podcast and they're like, "Holy crap!"
I'm hoping people are listening to this podcast, man.
Don't want to be a realtor anymore. So let me share a story with you, because we're not trying to convince you to stop doing sales. So
We don't need
No,
more
but that's a
competition.
good point because I was going to kind of go there.
Yeah. So my first month in business, I go to an office that when they did the training, they showed me how to create a listing presentation, and they actually pulled out scissors and a glue stick, and we cut one photo off of one piece of paper and glued it onto another, and I'm like, oh my god. All right, so technology in this industry was lacking, and that was like 2007. Like, come on.
Well,
So-
that's when kind of Facebook started, right? Like that sort of.
Yeah, but printers were around.
Printers-
You
Well,
didn't
yeah,
need to-
yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
need to-
I'm with
you
you.
didn't need to
No, you
physically
didn't
copy and
need to-
paste.
Like, my brokerage when I started, and this was 7 years ago, maybe 8 now, they had a typewriter in the office that was used daily. And not like one of those cool hipster typewriters, like the 80s ones that are
Yeah.
just like the giant buttons
Yeah.
and look terrible. Like there was no value to them.
I think we just totally cut Danny off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. Yeah, no worries. So I show up to this training at this company. The very next month, I walk in. I slapped 11 files on the front counter, and they're like,
Slap it a base.
"What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I did 11 deals," and they were blown away and wanted to fire me because I didn't hand any of the paperwork in. I didn't have any coaching, training, mentor. They just said, "There's your office. There's your desk. If you got questions, ask." I didn't have any. I did 11 deals my first month, and
First month.
Yeah, and I didn't know when to hand the paperwork in, so I waited.
Well,
to
you
the
didn't
first,
know what you didn't know.
I waited till the first of the next month, and I come in like with a big stack, and I lined them all up, and they're like, "What's this?" And I told them, and they're like, "Holy crap! 1, you're almost fired, but 2, that's pretty incredible." So I decided at that time what my strengths are. So anybody who's listening to this, they're like, "Oh man, I love this industry," but not all of it. Pick and choose what you like. So if you're out there and you're listening to us talk right now, this is what I ended up doing. I ended up generating leads for other agents and then giving them away on a 50-50 split. So all I had to do was focus on what I liked. And I looked at real estate as a big sandbox. So I decided to dominate open houses. So I would go door knocking around all the open houses. I would do online ads. I would do newspaper ads. I would put out like 30 signs instead of 4. Like I went all out. And some of the ideas worked and some of them didn't. So turn this into an experiment for you. Discover what angles you like. If you want to work more on referral, just go to podcasts and type in real estate referral and listen to anybody who's talking about that, or go to YouTube and type in real estate referrals or real estate Facebook ads. Like whatever you want to dive into, lean towards that and just keep failing forward and look at it like the question of why did I get out of real estate into real estate coaching? And I said, I'm still in the same thing. It's just marketing. That's how every agent should be listening to this and not thinking, oh man, the grass is greener, I should like switch gears. It isn't. It's the same thing. You're just playing in a different sandbox.
It's a great point, though, that you brought up, because as I was listening to each of you and the stories around the why you got out of the business to some extent, some degree.
It's still the same.
It's interesting, right? Because that's the reality. And I love the way the answer was. It was like, I really haven't changed what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In essence, right?
I'm applying the exact same strategy.
We're still out
Same
there.
thing.
We're still doing. I mean, look, I don't sell real estate. I got licensed years ago, and I did it so that I could understand what the realtors were going through for licensing. And I found some gaping holes when it came to marketing and the such. But for me, I'm out there. I'm trying to build relationships. I'm trying to call people. I'm trying to email people and mail people and do my social media and do my online stuff. And I'm trying to build MindShare across different channels, but again, it's the exact same thing.
Same thing.
Right? I've got to have my database. Like all those people that I got business cards from today for my sessions and whatever, and we all did, right? You take those. Hey, if you don't take the time to put that stuff in the database, who's going to do it? I mean, hey, I can have one of my team members do it for me. They didn't have the context around the conversation with that person.
Yeah.
They can't put that note in that the next time I call that person, I don't have to go, hi, I saw you at the end of my session at NAR and you wanted to hire me to speak at your conference. Yeah. I don't have to do that. I put the note in and right away I go, oh yeah, I know what they wanted from me. Now I'm going to call back and I'm just going to be me. And that's relationship building across any type of business you're doing, anything you're doing out there.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Where did MindShare come from?
Ooh.
That is a good question, man. It's funny. I'm trying to think back to that.
He was thinking of Aurora, and it just popped in.
Yeah. I thought about Aurora. I thought about you.
Aurora, though.
Right?
This guy.
Yeah, exactly. No, you know what? It was something that came up a number of years ago, probably 4 years ago, maybe, something like that. And we were trying to create a new booth, like an actual pop-up 10 by the 10-foot booth with the thing with the lights and all that. And it might have been for Realtor Quest, the Toronto Real Estate Board show. We put a slogan out there. It was like "Build MindShare," and it kind of just came, and we put it at the top of the booth, and it started to become a thing around MindShare, and then I don't even recall why it turned into such a thing. Like for me personally, from there it started to become okay, and some of the videos, and you guys saw some of the like original videos I did today in that session. Those started going out, and it was this whole thing around "Build MindShare." And then from those videos, like that pizza video that I called it, and then like that pirate video that I called it.
Longos is great pizza, though.
It really is good pizza. It really is good pizza. And I thought that the angle around what I was saying wasn't like I ended with like build mindshare, but it was this idea of like really just perception around what a pizza joint has to do to earn money versus what a realtor can do to earn money. Sidebar on that, the whole thing just from there started to just snowball, and everything around the video started to become, and then people were like, team members of mine and people that I look up to were like, go like this, like build mindshare. And so for a little while it was like, as I was doing videos, and not that anybody could see what I just did, but it was like sort of pointing to your mind, it was that idea of like, and build mindshare. And then it started to become part of what I was doing. But then it got to a point where, okay, I'm using the word a lot, I'm using the context a lot, but I'm kind of getting past this whole thing. Now it comes out, I still do it, but it's not.
Yeah.
Well, there's got to be some of those, right? I got to do that. Get a game going. Can you guys build some gifts for me, right? But it was that. I don't know, man.
So
and
I guess
it just turned in.
It sounds like in the beginning you just like, I don't know what else to put on my billboard. I'm just going to describe what we do.
Well, that's kind of the idea.
And that just kind of stuck.
Look, here's the thing. What we do at Kits is direct mail. Okay, and I'm saying it, and I'm going to scream it from the top of this building and anywhere else, we do the best direct mail there is in North America. That said, it is direct mail. And since 06, 07, when Facebook started, there's a stigma around paper and the cost around paper and the effectiveness, the ROI, everything else. So I have been battling uphill since I started Kits 14, 15 years ago, right? I've been battling uphill. I've had to fight the likes of retargeting and remarketing and SEO and pay-per-click and Facebook ads and all this tech automation and drip campaigns.
I guess when you say the word paper, it just sounds so old school.
Okay, it does, right? Now I can sit here and I can wrap an entire hour-long presentation, podcast, whatever right now. And I will tell you why paper is probably one of the most effective tools you can utilize, right? And I mean, for everybody listening, and just because we're going to go there, paper is the only form of your marketing. And I know some of you have heard me say this millions of times, but paper is your only form of marketing that is physically connecting with the person and the home. Okay? Yeah. Because your email, your social.
Automate it.
What's that? yeah. You can.
Like
we will automate it. We will
No,
automate it for you. It goes out automatically. You don't have to think about it. But it is a form of marketing. There is leverage there. And again, when you come back to ROI, you come back to cost, you come back to all that stuff. Paper is not that expensive, and paper does drive business. It is one channel. Right. So what I started to learn was, as much as I'm battling the world out there of the tech and this whole new world of tech, I'm talking about paper. I've got to figure out another way to make this a bright, shiny object. Mm. And then for me, it started to go away from trying to be a salesman of paper to, wait a second, you're having some challenges, and I'm starting to work those through because my bottom line was I wanted to sell you, right? But then it started to become, wait, I'm helping you. Then I started to enjoy helping you, and then I didn't even get your sale, but I was like, I knew you were like, Dave, thank you so much. Yeah. Now you're winning. I'm going, oh, this is good. And then I do it with the next guy, and the next guy, and the next girl, and everybody else. And you start to realize, wait a second, I got a message up there. And so MindShare started to become exactly what I say even from stage these days. I'm trying to poke people in the head. I'm trying to bring light to a situation like we talked about earlier, where that person came to me and they were like, yeah, I'm going to use ABC company, and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, okay, let me repeat that back to you. Why are you doing that? And when people start to internalize it, they start to, wait a second, should I be doing that? Because guys like us, all four of us, get up on a stage and we preach and we say things and we teach people and we educate, we give value. But there are people that get up and do that stuff that, I don't know if they're doing it from a place of expertise. I don't know if they're doing it from a place of sales.
Or ego.
Ego, okay.
There's
definitely a lot of ego out there, right? What happens, though, is the audience starts to see the bright shiny object, and they do like what I said to everybody today on stage, the sheeple, right? We follow like sheep, and that's human nature. That's why number one songs are number one songs, because we do these things. That's why people stay at this hotel versus that hotel, because everybody's staying at that hotel.
So people go to the busy restaurants, even though there's one next door with 3 people in it.
Okay, which
that
could have
be better
food.
Exactly.
Right. So now you start to get this industry that's doing that, and that's where MindShare start to snowball, because I'm like, wait a second. I'm a little rough around the edges with my delivery. I'm going to say it as it is. And then you start to see people now, through consistency, clicking and going, Dave, you're helping me. And I'm learning from you. And now you're like, wait a second. So I can keep talking like this. people might be okay with it. But I take my style. Right?
You have
and
to
so
have your own
MindShare
style.
started to just develop. And Andrew, it's a great question, because it's funny. I don't even know, man. And then MindShare 101 became a thing, and it was like, how do I brand MindShare? And
Oh, right. I remember the first question.
Yeah,
There
that's
was
a long answer to say I don't know.
But it's funny. I mean, one thing you guys know about me is it's like, Dave, come and take 5 minutes and just talk about something. Like, I can't say my name in 5 minutes, right?
There's a short route and there's the date.
No, I
route.
guess because as I think about it, I really don't have the direct exact answer. But I mean,
But if I talk enough, eventually something will
it
come
starts
out.
to come out. Did you pick anything up from that? Did you learn
And then
something?
next time,
Did you learn
I'll make it a
something?
little bit shorter, and then eventually I'll have a story that might not be true, but will be a great story.
But the thing's going back to paper. I don't think there's anything wrong with paper. I don't think there's anything wrong with any form of marketing as long as there's ROI. Billboards cost a lot of money. They're great marketing, but if you're paying $10,000, $15,000 for a billboard that's bringing in $2,000, it's not worth it.
Okay, this is a can of worms for me,
Right.
because I'm going to come back now and I'm going to talk about your two groups of people. You got the people you know and the people you don't know, right? And what
Yeah.
you're trying to always do is you're always trying to take the people you don't know and convert them into people you know. Because as we talked about earlier in this episode,
You're talking a funnel here now.
yeah, but you're talking about the funnel. You're talking about, again, taking everybody, putting them into contact list and starting to nurture the contact list.
Yep.
So it's always taking people you don't know, moving them into becoming people you know, and then leveraging the people you know to get your business. And that's where paper and social and everything comes together to do that, right?
Yep.
That is that's the crux behind all of this marketing and going out there and building your biz. But it really comes back, and I know I've mentioned this a few times here, it really comes back to consistency. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do the paper, do it right. If you're going to do social, do it right. If you're going to do the online ads, do it right. If you're going to do email, do it right. But do not rely on one and only type of one and only channel of your marketing, because at the end of the day, you're not going to succeed from just one channel.
Yeah.
You're going to succeed through building MindShare.
And it's true. I mean, you're selling paper, like you said, but you're using digital to get noticed.
Think about it.
Right.
Here.
You're hitting them from all sides.
Andrew saw it at the event the other day, and I did it at Andrew's conference when we did the Blue Mountain Real Estate Conference, which takes place each summer. We do this
Each July,
right?
We
So
don't
Andrew's
have
got
a date
this
right now.
wicked conference, Blue Mountain, Collingwood, Ontario. We go out there and we bring some amazing speakers. He brings out awesome speakers, a wicked crowd of people. But it's much the same, right? It comes back to talking about here. Did you guys know that IKEA, and everybody knows the IKEA catalog, IKEA spends 70% of their overall marketing budget on paper? Think about it, and they're worldwide. They publish in 77 different languages. Okay?
Yeah.
Google is using a postcard campaign right now to advertise to me. I'm sure some of you might get it. They're saying, hey, here's a postcard every single, a few weeks in a row. It's basically spend $150 on our online ads.
Yeah,
and we'll give you back
I would get those
$150,
too in my
right?
mind. Yeah.
Okay, Google.
Google,
Facebook
yeah.
just came out with an online, a printed lifestyle magazine called Grow.
Yeah.
Amazon is using paper marketing to drive online sales throughout the holidays for kids' toys.
So what you're saying is paper still works.
I'm saying paper works, but you've got to have the digital to support it.
That's right.
And then if you're going to do digital, you got to have the calls and the paper and everything else to support it.
Yeah.
It's all comes together.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on who each person is. Like, cold calling still works, door knocking still
Absolutely.
works.
Sure,
It's what
yeah.
fits you.
Yes.
Like, this is just to bring it back to digital,
Yeah.
because that's what I do. We get people.
Subtle little plug there, just sell homes.
Shameless plugs are
Guys,
fair game.
come back this way.
Yeah. We need to bring it back to me. Otherwise, I'm
Totally
leaving.
Whatever.
We look at people come to us about websites all the time.
hard to
Like,
control.
what do you think of this place? I'm like, well, what's your strategy? And they're like, what do you mean? Why does that matter? I'm like, because you have to pick a website to fit your strategy. Like first you have to figure out the strategy, because if you want to do forced registration, there's a good company. If you want to go content marketing, that might be this company, but that company that has forced registration is terrible for content marketing. And then they don't know what strategy they want to pick, but they've already bought like all these services. I'm like, yeah, but how does that fit what the strategy is you want to take? And that's such a huge mistake that so many people make online.
I'm sure you guys get that question. What's the best XYZ?
All
What's
the
the best company? What's the best brokerage? What's the best marketing? Well, what do you mean? It goes back to what you're saying, Andrew. Well, how does that fit with you? I don't know what you want. I don't know where you are. I can't possibly answer that question for you because what's best for me is not best for you.
Here, how about this? We all do a pretty solid job of being visible online. We all put together a ton of content just like we're doing right now. This takes time.
Of course.
Right? The panel I just did on podcasting, there was a lot of people there. It was great stuff. There's a lot of people there that were asking questions around that. How much time does it take? How much money does it cost? And it's really, when you think about it, I don't know about you guys, this takes a lot of time, right? This is fun because we've got a microphone set up on a table overlooking San Francisco, and we were just having a good time together right now. That being said, if I'm going to go one-on-one with each of you, I'm going to figure out what is the content, what is the timing, when are we going to do this, when am I going to edit it, when am I going to promote it, when am I going to put it out?
Interviews?
Hey, listen, not everybody's serving up beer to everybody, okay?
Andrew mentions beer. Everything's easy all of a sudden.
But the idea is it takes time, right? And when you think about the amount of content, if you want to have an online strategy, part of that, the importance of it is you've got to have a content strategy.
But anything worth pursuing takes time and energy.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, everybody would be multimillionaires because they wouldn't have to do anything. Successful businesses and people put in a lot of time.
So where would we say this then? For realtors, mortgage brokers, loan officers, anybody in the sales industry, I mean, anybody who might be listening to this podcast, and I'm gonna come back to our industry, call it the real estate industry, okay? People servicing homeowners, home buyers, home sellers. Where are the bulk of the bulk of the people in the sales part of that industry getting their business from?
Well, it should be repeat referral.
Okay.
That should be the bulk. That should
So
be
what
like
you're saying
80%.
is,
And the most consistent.
you're saying 80%?
I'm pretty sure if you asked...
I tell you the numbers are 70 to 90 from the polls I've done.
That doesn't mean that's the right way. I don't think any one source should be higher than 50% if you're doing it right.
It's funny. We all even have our own different opinions.
No, I think most
Absolutely.
are 70-90% repeat referral. I just don't think they should be.
Interesting.
Oh,
Why is
okay.
that?
Because eventually, like, you're going to tap out your database and things like if you're reliant too much on one stream, it could then dry up.
Okay, hold on. I like that. So if you're going to tap out the database, but what if we're taking advantage of a service like yourselves where we can continue to, and we've budgeted accordingly, we've really mapped this out that it fits the bill, we can continue to take leads. This term that I'm not afraid of. But get these people that might be shopping for a home and move them into the funnel and now convert them over to group number one and now start to go through that follow-up process of scheduling and note-taking and phone calls and everything else. We're taking those people, we continue to feed. Like,
So you're saying expand the database, because Andrew's saying...
100%.
If you have your database and you know, I'm going to get 15% of my business, or say like for every 100 people in my database, I'm going to get 15 deals a year.
If you work it right.
If you work it right,
Yep.
I'm going to get 15 deals a year out of every 100 people in my database. Well, how are you getting people to your database? Like here, it's not. It shouldn't just be Facebook ads. Okay, there's Facebook ads. There's seminars. There's video marketing. There's networking. Like you should have different sources that are eventually everything you're doing is growing your database, growing the relationships you have, and then just hanging out with people in person.
Yeah.
But you have to have the different sources that bring people in.
And where did MindShare come from? Seriously, that's it. Because it's, again...
I asked you and you took 20 minutes to answer.
You should have just answered it for me, bro.
Wait. I think Andrew's saying grow your tribe. What?
We're still on me.
Okay, got it.
So here, I guess parting thoughts then, unless anybody has anything else they want to add based on this conversation, but parting thoughts, Sebastian, I'll start with you. Just what kind of tips or what would you leave behind with anybody listening to this podcast today, based on anything we spoke about, that's going to help them walk away today and go, I can do something different or better?
You know, it's funny because I've been thinking about one common thread that was stuck in my mind this entire time we were sitting here as I overlooked San Francisco. that I haven't shared yet. And it comes,
what are you waiting for?
Well, we say the best for last, right? I always look at every quote-unquote lead as I'm going to treat that person like I would my own mother. I want to develop relationships with that person like their family, because then you feel something different. Continuously pour out value the way they see it, whether it's buying somebody something to fix their new car to solve their problem, without, and this is the key, and I think this is what agents are missing, because they're doing the whole this for that, the whole quid pro quo thing. I am giving value. Why are you not being my client? My whole philosophy has always been, I'm going to dump as much love on you as I possibly can. It's up to you whether you want to reciprocate. No expectation. And I think in most industries, and I know this is true with real estate industry, well, I'm going to do this only if I get this back. I will not put effort into it unless I see money. But money doesn't always come in the form of this for that. I'm going to do this. They may tell somebody else about you. So it's not directly from that person, but you can get a lot, this has been my experience, a lot of indirect business because I just cared for another human being as if I do for my own mother. Like genuine, come down. It for me, one word. If you wrap it up, I'm doing the long Dave answer here, but let me condense it to one word.
Come on, this is my podcast.
That's why we're picking on you.
That's going to be cut out.
Genuine.
No, joking.
Authentic. Just be authentic. Be you. Don't pretend to be somebody else.
I saw that in a quote in some guy's Oh, that was mine. No, great. No, I love the answer though. Treat them like you treat your mother.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that does get away from
only if you like your mother.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, jokes aside, it gets away from being the lead.
Exactly.
You start to treat people like
even treat your lead,
people.
your quote unquote cold lead. Reach out to them, but have a human to human conversation, not a realtor to lead. A human-to-human conversation. Get to know them. Give them without expectation. This is the way that I grew up because my parents were incredible. I took this from my mom. She gave everyone love. It didn't matter who they were. And she is so respected and loved by people because they see that she's actually genuine about it. I think that the day my mom dies, she's going to have like 100,000 people at her funeral. Honestly. Because she's just that loving. And I think like that because that's the way I grew up. It may not be right for everyone, but that's the way it works for me.
Equal. Give value. Be real about it. Don't treat them like a number. Don't treat them like their business or a piece of meat. And if you don't get to eat right away, disregard them. Continue to be in touch.
If I don't get to eat right away, that doesn't affect my level of happiness. I don't tie my self-worth or happiness to how much money I have in my bank account. I tie it to what can I give to somebody else.
Danny.
Don't look for the magic pill would be my thing. Sometimes I would set up a funnel or a marketing strategy and I'd only get 16 leads a month or 30 leads a month or whatever. But that's just one more fishing pole that I put in the water. And next month I should still get the 20 leads from that, but another 20 from the new fishing pole I put out. So keep putting out different strategies. It could be paper, it could be calling, it could be texting, it could be leveraging video. All of the content that you create should be repurposed. If you do an open house, you could create a video, a landing page. If you look at your own website, you've got a buyer page, you've got a seller page. Why don't you repurpose those two pages as like part of your follow-up drip? Everything you do could be repurposed in like 10x. Everything you do can be repurposed 10 times over in your drip plans, in the video content you create, in the blogging that you start doing, in like the reason for why you're calling people, in the live presentations you do. Everything. Like whenever I do an event, it's not just the marketing leading up to the event, it's the marketing leading up to the event, it's the marketing during the event, like behind the scenes, that sort of thing. After it happened, like my takeaways, and then a week later, throwback Thursday type of thing. Like everything you can do should be repurposed, otherwise you shouldn't be doing it to begin with.
So go out there and market the things that you're up to, market the things you're doing, market the things you did.
And use it in other avenues. Don't just one and done it.
Right.
Everything, most of the things you do can be repurposed in like at least 3 or 4 other areas of your marketing channel.
I love the answer, and I would throw in to anybody who's going, but how? I'd say schedule, right?
Yeah.
Look at your calendar and schedule. Put this time aside to be able to go out there and say, okay, I know that I've got...
The thing is, the more you do that strategy, the more time you end up getting.
Right. It's right.
It's an uphill battle at the beginning because you're sore and you haven't used those muscles and you haven't gone that distance. But once you're at the top of the hill, you're like, shit, man, I can do that again.
Yeah.
And now it's like a million times easier because you've got all these things set up. Like, oh, I didn't know I could use my thank you page in that way. And now you start reusing your thank you page for other stuff in the future. It's just like everything starts clicking and molding and modifying. And it's like at the beginning, you didn't have a clear vision. In the present moment, you still don't have a clear vision, but you've got a lot more experience to bank off of. So fail forward.
I like that. Thank you. Andrew.
I'm just going to go different, just give them something that they can just do today.
Go for it, man. Thank you.
So every Monday, they should do this.
Okay.
Look at what showings you have booked that week with buyers. Then go into your database, find out who lives in those neighborhoods. Call them up and say, hey, I'm showing properties in your neighborhood this week. There's only a couple for sale. Have you heard of anyone thinking of selling their home?
Cool.
And just let them think, because now like you're also giving them the opportunity to be the hero to like their neighbor who might have mentioned in passing they're thinking of selling, and now you have a buyer for them.
That's an easy touch.
Yeah.
I love that. I totally love that. And I mean, I thought that was a great point. I mean, coming from a Facebook ads genius to say
Pick up the phone.
call your database. No, but
Yeah.
it's forget the joke to that. Like that's dead serious, right?
Absolutely.
And for everybody listening, again, you got to take that in. You got to understand. And I'm going to say it. Andrew knows, and I think I've said it probably 3 times here today. But Andrew knows his stuff when it comes to digital marketing. I mean, there's nobody better. And so when you think about it, and Danny knows what he said. Danny,
we said what he said.
You know, the thing is this, though. The thing is this:
Danny
is
points to himself, of course.
no matter what, all these guys are giving you guys right now. Everybody listening, giving you some amazing insight to what you can do to build your business, how you can build your brand, how you can build yourself as an individual. And it comes back to you got to connect with people, and I just call that building MindShare. So I thank you guys. I thank you guys sincerely for coming out today. I know you had no choice because we're all in San Francisco together, so too bad, so sad. But no, genuinely, Danny, thank you. Andrew, Sebastian, thank you for taking the time to join us on the MindShare podcast. For everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch up with you next week. You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com or even downloaded our Industry Syndicate app. Maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at mindshare101 and on Instagram at davidgreenspan101. This has been another episode of the MindShare Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening.